Tonight, Chief Justice takes her case directly to the media, explaining for the first time why she expedited the hearing of the controversial case against the approval of ministerial nominees following criticism from the opposition NDC.
We were going to go on Easter break, and the Attorney General wrote and said, this is a matter of governance. So could the court issue hearing notice for the case to be heard? And so hearing notices were issued. Attorney General had filed his affidavit in opposition, so nothing should stop the hearing. It gave the impression that the applicant was not interested in being served.
We have reactions from the NDC, plus tell you what her response was when she was asked if the same principle will be applied to another application by the Speaker to expedite hearing of cases filed against the anti-gay bill. Plus, later, more from the Chief Justice's media engagement, where she is breaking from the past and now directly engaging the public on a wide range of issues, entrenching judicial accountability to the people.
As soon as the case was filed, the Attorney General filed his response.
The Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, is tonight taking her case directly to the media and has been explaining for the first time why she expedited the hearing of the controversial case against the approval of ministerial nominees. She had been criticized by the main opposition NDC, who had accused her of bias following the expedited hearing at the time when another high-profile case that had been used as an excuse by the president not to sign the anti-gay bill into law was still yet to be heard. At an engagement with journalists earlier today, the Chief Justice explained that the Attorney General's request for a speedy hearing was granted because the case of the NDC MP for South Dai, Roxing Nelson Dafiamekbo, against the president's ministers had major implications for the running of the government.
As soon as the case was filed, the Attorney General filed his response. He filed his affidavit in opposition. So the case was ripe for hearing. We were going to go on Easter break, and the Attorney General wrote and said, this is a matter of governance. So could the court issue hearing notice for the case to be heard? And the court was going to sit on the Wednesday. And so hearing notices were issued so that the applicant who filed the case himself and who should be interested in his case himself will come to court. And all the different, the two other respondents will also come to court. So the bailiff went and served all of them with hearing notices. And when the court sat on that Wednesday, it formed part of our list, because hearing notices had been served on everybody, and the respondents had filed their affidavits in opposition. At least the Attorney General had. So when the case was called, the affidavits of service were on the docket. We knew that the applicant had been served, Speaker had been served, Attorney General had been served, Speaker's lawyer was in court, Attorney General was in court, Attorney General had filed his affidavit in opposition, so nothing should stop the hearing. It gave the impression that the applicant was not interested in being served. So I called for the bailiff and put him in the box and said, did you swear to this? Read it to everybody. He read it to everybody, allowed the lawyers to question him on his affidavit, and they were all satisfied that there was service. Then the next question was, Speaker, you haven't filed an affidavit in opposition. What is your position? And the records of the court are available. Speakers had an objection to the application and asked that they should be dismissed. And the Attorney General asked that they should be dismissed. And so we dealt with the application on its merit and ruled on it. So I have spoken to the generality of the arrangement. Now, if you have been going to the Supreme Court covering proceedings, you will discover that we hardly adjourn cases now because of this. It's working well. By the time we sit, virtually every process that has been fixed for a date for that day will be dealt with.
Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. Well, my colleague Kweku Asante was there at this engagement and joins us on the line right now. Kweku, you also asked specifically about the petition from the Speaker, also calling for expedited hearing of the cases filed against the controversial anti-gay bill. Did you get a response to this?
Well, Evans, like you said, I asked two questions of the Chief Justice. First, the rationale for accepting the request of the Attorney General to expedite the hearing. She did, in fact, provide what was a very elaborate answer on why exactly she had to do that. And that is the sound you just played, making the case for why she thought that there was urgent government business on the line, for which reason that case ought to be expedited. However, the second leg of my question, which was, the Speaker of Parliament has also written through his lawyers, Thaddeus Sorry and Sorry at Law, through the Registrar of the Supreme Court, asking for similar treatment for two cases filed by one, Richard Alaska, a lawyer and media practitioner, and another academic, Dr. Amanda Odoi, seeking to injunct the president from receiving the anti-LGBTQ bill. That question also went to the Chief Justice, as she offered not to answer that. Of course, she did not give any reason to that. She did not even speak about it at all. She went on to deal with other issues, and as far as we are concerned, we tried, even after the media engagement had concluded, to try and get a word, but the security around the Chief Justice's side. But within the open space that the media engagement was, I did specifically ask whether the same treatment will be meted out to the case having been filed by Amanda Odoi and Richard Alaska, for which reason the Speaker of Parliament is calling for an expedited hearing. There was no response from the Chief Justice.
Quickly stay with me, because there are other important matters that came up in this engagement with the Chief Justice. I want to right now bring in the Director of Legal Affairs of the opposition NDC, Eduji Tamaklo, joins us right now. Mr. Tamaklo, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Evans, good evening. Good evening to your viewers and listeners.
I believe
online viewers.
I believe you may have heard the Chief Justice explain why she expedited that particular hearing. Are you satisfied with what you've heard today?
You know, last week, as you recall, we had this engagement. It doesn't resolve the problem.
Why doesn't it?
You see, on the day that the court heard this matter, if you are aware, when Roxin Eche Dafiamako filed the injunction application, there was a cover letter signed by the registrar of the Supreme Court. And this is what it reads. It's dated 21st March 2024. It reads, Dear Sir, Madam, fixing of date for hearing. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Generally, it says, please take note that a date will be fixed for the hearing of the above stated application, with hearing notices for the respondent by the registrar upon request, 14 days after the service of the application on the respondent, counting on your usual cooperation. Thank you. This came from the registry of the court. Now, I understand from the engagement today that notwithstanding this notice, the ladyship, the Chief Justice, having received the letter from the Attorney General, considered the matters raised by the Attorney General that government business will be affected. Do I understand that in respect of the Family Value Bill, there is no such agency or effect on the states? Is that the understanding? Because, you see, Evans.
Well, that subject is a subject of an application before her. We haven't heard
No.
she's
I
acted
mean,
on that
at
yet.
that time, there was no. We are dealing with what happened then. we didn't have the benefit that Mr. Tabiosori was going to write a letter to the CJ. Now, listen, on the 18th day of March 2024, Nana Bediatua sent this letter to the Speaker of Parliament or the Clerk of Parliament. And this is what he says, that the Attorney General has, by a letter dated 18th March 2024, informed the President that he has been duly served with 2 applications and has advised the President not to take any step in relation to the bill on the matters raised by the suit are determined by the Supreme Court. Now it proceeds that the Attorney General, right, has also advised. So this is a situation where, right, the Attorney General had informed the President that don't assent this bill duly passed by 275 MPs because they were pending matters before the court. These suits were filed earlier in time, which is Sky's suit is dated 7th March 2024. H.A. Roxanne Dafiamoko's suit is after the 20th of March.
Yeah, you canvassed these points last week, and the explanation was, and the Chief Justice clarified this, that in the case of the Dafiamekpo and Co., the Attorney General specifically wrote requesting for an expedited hearing. We haven't seen that at the time yet until we saw the letter from the Speaker. Doesn't that explain that, why that decision was not taken on that first case?
No, so we are saying that if the 2 suits are similarly placed, and remember that this whole business of the Speaker, remember that the Speaker was giving a response to the 18th March 2024 letter from the Secretary to the President. That was when at the tail end, he then gave the indication whether the President can even instruct Parliament to cease and desist. So you do not take these matters in isolation. It is the family value bill that has cascaded into this current conversation. And so we were saying that in one respect, the Attorney General is advising the President that don't assent because 2 suits have been filed and have been duly served. In another suit, the Speaker says, I have also been served with this process, and for that matter, I'm adjourning proceedings. Now, if the question is about the Ministerial, and from the CJ says we're going to the Easter break, and for that matter, they needed the matter head. We all do appreciate that once Parliament is adjourned, a court cannot force Parliament to sit. That there's an order directing Parliament to go and sit. Now,
Hello, Luigi. Hello, Luigi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. We lost you briefly.
So I was saying that, as you are aware, the court cannot make an order directing Parliament to sit to consider the approval of the ministers. You do know that. So from Wednesday, when the court dismissed the injunction application, it's a week now. Has Parliament been recalled? No. So if the decision was that, because we're going on Easter break, the court needed to expedite a decision on the issue of the ministerial appointment. What has been the effect? The process to get Parliament to sit when it's adjourned is to get a certain number of MPs to do A, B, C, D. And so the fact that we're going to Easter break and therefore there was a need for expedited hearing. I mean, for as far as the letter from the NDC or the statement from the NDC is concerned, this explanation doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't. I mean, even when you hear the Chief Justice explain that in the case of the Roxanne Dafiamekpo, it had implications on the running of government. I mean, that certainly is not the case in the Richard Sky case, is it?
I do not know when you say it has implication for the running.
Well,
Hello?
ministries will need substantive ministers to work.
As we speak, Kwejo Nkrumah is all over the place working, correct?
Yes.
Amin Anta is still our finance minister working.
Well, we had ministries that didn't have substantive ministers. For example, the tourism ministry, for example, had a new minister who needed to be approved by Parliament.
In fact, even prior to this, I have seen some of the ministers already doing press conferences.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about substantive matters of signing contracts and getting projects on the road. If a minister is not sworn in, he lacks the authority.
No, per our constitutional arrangement, one, there is no substantive minister. A substantive minister in another ministry holds the fort. So if it's about governance, I do not see where this matter is coming from.
Bottom line, this explanation today by the Chief Justice still does not cut it for the NDC.
As far as the concerns raised in our press release signed by the General Secretary of the party is concerned, I do not see how this explanation resolves the matter.
But do you
all we were asking for is that the two matters were similarly placed and ought to have been adjudicated, at least if not for anything, the first in time.
I mean, she was asked the question today about the Speaker's application and what we're going to possibly likely see in terms of the application of the principle. There wasn't an answer to that.
No, but if you recall, on the day the Supreme Court decided this matter, your own reporter, Kwekwa Asante, asked the Attorney General that you said you applied by way of letter to the CJ, right? Are you going to do the same thing relative to the Richard Sky matter? He said he is not the plaintiff. Those were the answer he gave. Correct. Was it a plaintiff in the Roxanne matter?
Yeah, but I'm asking this specifically about the Chief Justice now. Kwekwa Asante again.
No, I mean these are matters.
That was last week. I'm asking of today. I mean, I'm asking you whether would you read anything into that we haven't heard from the Chief Justice yet. Today she was asked about it. That answer wasn't provided. She was silent on it. Do you read anything?
Obviously, she might have a reason why she was silent on it. Maybe she's considering the letter from Mr. Sorry.
And that there is the Director of Legal for the NDC speaking to us on what happened today when the Chief Justice addressed his controversial issues around the expedited hearing of that Roxanne Dafiamepo case against the ministerial nominees, Godwin Ediju-Tamaklo. Thank you very much. But I want to stay with this subject a while longer, and Kweku is still with me. Kweku, at this same event, the CJ appears now to be speaking to journalists regularly. From what I understand, this is not a one-off, is it?
Not at all, Evans. In fact, this is the second time this year that the Chief Justice is speaking publicly to journalists. When she spoke to us, members of the Judicial Press Corps, she gave an indication that she was going to meet us regularly. And so indeed today she did meet us, take questions. I can remember for so long, this is the first time that a Chief Justice is sitting in front of journalists, giving them sort of an update and taking questions. And Evans, not only is he going to speak to journalists regularly, he's announcing that on Monday he's going to hold a national event, and as new Chief Justice, he's going to tell the Ghanaian public, which is, in her own words, the justice emanates from, what her vision is as Chief Justice.
Articulation of my vision and how I believe, the steps I believe can assist all of us to bring the justice that we want to the people of Ghana. And you may say, why do I need all of you? Why do I need everybody to join me? The Constitution articulates it properly, which is that justice emanates from the people of Ghana. So justice is actually a product that comes out of the people of Ghana, which is that law is made by the people of Ghana. It is only administered by the judiciary. We are given the constitutional mandate to administer it. So we are accountable back to you who gave us the law to administer. And that is why if we are having trouble doing it efficiently and to your expectation, it is meet and appropriate that we bring to you programs that you can assist us with in doing the work that we are required to do. So on Monday at the International Conference Center, we'll have that launching of my vision and an outreach to the entire nation to assist in bringing justice to you the way we should.
And we're talking about her vision, though. One thing that she's implemented is this shift system for the courts. She's been giving further details about this policy.
Well, yes, Evans. The last time the Judicial Service announced this shift system, it was the Judicial Secretary who signed a circular to judges. But the Chief Justice herself is explaining to the public why she had to do that. She gives an example of the Adenta High Court, for instance, where she said there are judges sitting there who are saddled with up to 500 cases for they themselves to consider, while there are cases in certain courts that are not even up to 30. And it is for this reason that the shift system is being piloted. And if it works well, who knows, they may extend it nationwide.
I've been gathering a lot of data from the courts to show me where there are intense blockages and where there isn't so much work, and have been thinking through how to release the places where there are blockages. And in gathering that data, I've discovered that there are courts where there are as many as 600 cases. There are courts where there are as many as 1,000 cases. Then there are courts where there are as few as 30-something cases. So those judges with 30-something cases are hardly doing any work, not because they don't want to work, but because the people in the area they are working in are not bringing those many disputes to court. In Adenta, for instance, one high court judge has as many as 550 cases. One has 600 cases. Surely she cannot work effectively. The same for Amasaman, the same for, in fact, Tema has very high cases. Labadi, very high cases. Teshi, very high cases. And so it's become necessary to see how to relieve the load.
So there is the Chief Justice talking today directly to the media and laying out a strategy going forward, including taking her case directly to the public through the media. She says next week she'll be laying across her vision for the judiciary. I want to bring in the spokesperson for the Ghana Bar Association, Xavier Kuju, joins us on the line right now. Xavier, if I still have you on, this is a Chief Justice who wants to break from tradition and go directly to the people through the media in a form of public accountability. What's the GBA's position on this? And I know often we come to you and say you are often the mouthpiece for the judiciary. Now you're hearing the Chief Justice herself explaining issues, controversial issues, directly to the press.
Evans, good evening, and good evening to your listeners, and thank you for the opportunity. I think it's a welcome development. This is an indication of openness and transparency. And I believe this is the style of leadership we can only applaud it and support it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
You know, the tradition has been that, judges do not talk, especially a Chief Justice. They do their talking when they are sitting in that bench together with your colleagues. What do you say to the tradition? Isn't she now possibly running the risk of opening herself up to further criticism?
I don't think so, because if the fact that judges do not talk does not mean that when it comes to administrative issues that they think that practical steps should be taken to explain the details of the transformations that they want to bring on board to the public by way of their vision and all that. They cannot do it. I don't think they should be doing anything wrong. For me, that would rather be a very good approach of disseminating information to the public. I am not too sure if she will be doing this herself every time, because I know they have a communications unit. But just as every leader does, or most leaders do some of the time, if your communicators are even explaining things the way you expect. You can't once in a while come out yourself and do the explanation.
I mean, what about the timing of this? This is an election year. It's high stakes. Everything you say, you run the risk of placing yourself within the political arena because of the way it will be interpreted. Even if it is an innocuous comment, well-intentioned, should this be implemented this year or wait till the elections are over when the stakes are not as high?
If we say implemented this year, what do you mean? Is this a shift?
No, I mean this policy of being very open and going directly to the public. Next week she's starting this with the very first time we have a Chief Justice going to lay out her vision to the public through the media. We've not seen that before. It is a commencement of a whole new approach to doing things. Should that start this year?
I don't think you have I don't think anybody can decide for her when to start. When to start is purely her prerogative. And as I said, everybody has a style of leadership. If this is the way she wants to go, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because people would rather be happy that for the first time ever, we have a Chief Justice who has come up publicly to outline his or her policies for us to know. I think that's giving a purpose for accountability purposes, so that people can see on so and so this is what you told us. But going forward, we are not seeing you going by what you said.
And what do you then say to, again, knowing what the contest is and the timing we're in, the elections approach, what do you say to politicians who often, as you know, find themselves pitched squarely against the judiciary? We've seen that play out in the last couple of weeks. Just before you came on, we were talking to the NDC's Director of Legal, again unhappy about explanations they've had today, still not satisfied at all. That definitely is the risk going forward, is it not? And then from the GBA's point of view, I think we had a very heated political season, high stakes, as I repeated earlier. Do you have any word for the politicians now that you have a Chief Justice coming up and being transparent and ready to engage a bit more?
Well, for the politicians, all I can say is that they are given the opportunity to rule us. So they should also take their time and rule us. Or they are yearning to have the opportunity to rule us. They should take their time and do that. We cannot continue to politicize every single issue that goes on in this country, to the extent that a person has been appointed a Chief Justice, and for the first time or for a very long time in our history, that person has been bold enough to come out to outline her policies to all of us, and that will be an issue. And when it comes to exercising discretion, if you think that a public office holder like the Chief Justice has not exercised her discretion well, the Constitution gives you the mandate to take steps. So I don't see why it should be difficult. So I would say that politicians, yes, we must be ruled, but they should take their time and do it well. Other than that, we will not be happy with them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's Xavier Kujuda, is the PRO for the Ghana Bar Association. We're looking forward to this engagement with the country through the media next week, where the Chief Justice says she will be laying out her own vision. News Night in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, Telecel is here!
Telecel, connecting energies.
Great news is here. Batmat is here again. XXL clearance sale. Guaranteed savings. From now till the end of April, the big sale continues. Get discounts of up to 70% off sanitary wares, light tiles, waterproofing, and all other product families. It's the year to get things done. Visit our showroom at the North Industrial Area next to the Winners Chapel, Ghana. Don't miss out. Batmat, welcome home.
In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, outrage at increases in the price of petrol and other petroleum products. Barely 24 hours after the price stabilization and recovery levy was reintroduced among a raft of new measures. We'll hear from the LPG Marketers Association, which is vowing to pass on the increase on to consumers.
Now we have to redo our price again today because it was taken off on 28th. So the price build-up we did for the product on the market on the 1st did not include a price stabilization levy of 14%.
Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament say the decision to set a limit below which prices should not fall for petroleum products will hurt the consumers.
The MPA wants to be setting the floor price. Then the only thing the OMCs can do is to compete upward. So we're moving from deregulation to re-centralization, and I find that very, very, very unfortunate. Why would the MPA decide that you can't sell below a certain amount?
Also tonight, NDC flag bearer and former President John Mahama vows never to use taxes for the construction of the National Cathedral if he wins the 2024 election. So is the Christian community ready to fund the controversial project under an NDC administration?
But I'm not, as president, going to use any public funds to build a cathedral.
We'll have details for you as it describes as an attempt to buy votes, government's distribution of 1.3 million tablets to senior high school students in business.
Expect another increase in fuel prices from April 16 as other base indicators rise on the international market.
And sports new 9-member board of Accra Heart of Folk approved by the shareholders as they target 200 million cedis revenue to pay the club's debts.
And you want to stay with us for that and more here on Newsnight. 0551111997 is the WhatsApp line. And waiting to hear from you here on Newsnight. And later here on the show, Agbogboloshi traders take action to clean markets, keeping the surroundings clean even after rainfall.
Yeah, every month. And
that later. But first, though, you may have noticed that there's been an increase in the prices of petrol, diesel, and liquefied petroleum gas. And there's outrage at that. Barely 24 hours after the reversal of the suspension of the price stabilization recovery levy on petroleum products among a raft of new measures. That levy have now been reintroduced. Now, the National Petroleum Authority, in a letter this March, announced the suspension of the price stabilization levy on the price build-up on petroleum products. This froze the implementation of the levy charged on every liter of petroleum products and a kilogram of LPG from Monday. Now, this directive has now been reversed. At the fuel pumps, some oil marketing companies have already adjusted their prices upwards, leaving many consumers outraged. Now, the authority also announced price floors for the downstream petroleum sector, meaning now they'll set a limit below which prices should not fall. Now, we're hearing from the Africa Center for Energy Policy, which says the recent decision to establish this floor for the pricing of petroleum products is illegal and falls beyond the purview of the MPA's mandate. My colleague, Michael Ashali, joins me with a statement from this, and this clarifies a bit of what we're hearing that has led to the increases in the prices.
Yeah, so Evans, what we are hearing from the ASEP, this is a statement also signed by Kojo Yachu, is the policy lead at the Petroleum and Conventional Energy. Now, it says that the directive is expressly outside the plethora of functional activities prescribed by the NPA and quotes the Act Act 691 of 2005. And ASAP assessed that most of the legally mandated functions of NPA are outdated as well in the current deregulated market. It goes on to talk about what really they can be doing. That they say that there are some issues within the area that hasn't been looked at. That should be rather the focus of the NPA. They talk about the influx of illicit products through unapproved and approved routes into the market, the influx of substandard products on the market, stealing of tax revenue by some OMCs, again, the burdensome pass-through levies and charges to the consumer. And it goes on to say that rather than addressing these challenges, the MP is rather opting for what they say a lazy solution that rewards inefficiency.
But they also make some proposals.
Yes, Evans, they have some proposals here. So, they talk about the NPA rather to prioritize progressive regulatory functions. They go on to talk about that a more targeted approach that enforces progressive rules and sanctions to companies engaging in unfair practices by employing data-driven approaches focused on identifying and eliminating anti-competitive behavior without undermining businesses' creativity, Evans.
And many of you may have noticed this already, and the increases we'll hear from the minority pretty shortly. But some of you have been reacting to this already. As far as the public is concerned, we'll hear from you pretty shortly, and get a word from the minority too. I want to hear from you on this. Share your thoughts. 055-1111-997. I want to bring in Gabriel Kumi. He's the vice chairman of the LPG Marketers Association. Gabriel, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. From what I understand, this has already taken effect, and other pumps, you're beginning to feel this, even for LPG.
Yes, we are beginning to feel that. And even worse for LPG, there has been an $80 levy that has been put on LPG, which translates into the LPG price going up by 1.20 pesos. So it's not only, when you talk about LPG, it's not only the price stabilization levy that was suspended last week that has been brought back, but there is an additional $80 on every ton of LPG, which translates into 1.20 pesos on every kilo of LPG. If you look at the price of LPG now, currently, we have moved from 14 cedis per kilo to about 16 cedis, 20 pesos per kilo. So we've had an increment of about 2 cedis, over 2 cedis, from last window to this window.
And this increases, you say it's not because of the price stabilization levy that has been reintroduced?
Yes, the price stabilization levy is just 14 pesos. You know, that was removed on the 28th of March. And on the 1st of April, MPA has introduced $80 on every ton of LPG. If you do the mathematics, that translates into 1.20 pesos being put on every kilo of LPG. And you know, over the past 2 weeks, the dollar hasn't done so well. So already that was going to shoot the price up from 14 cedis to about 15 cedis. And then salt has been added to the injury by slapping this 1.20 pesos levy on LPG. So, in fact, LPG has seen the highest increase.
At your pumps, how are people reacting to this when they come to buy and they notice this increase? I lost him there. But I want to hear from you already, because this is something that you may have noticed at the pumps and you're paying for. We're getting a bit more explanations as to why this is happening. But these are a few of your voices on this particular issue.
I came here to get fuel, and I realized that they've increased the fuel to like 17 pesos, which is absurd. Like, we didn't hear anything. We got up, no announcement, nothing. And we woke up today to buy fuel, and it's all increased. And now this country, they don't tell us anything. They just do anything as they want. Like, a liter now is 13 cedis 79 pesos. Before it was like 13 cities, 20 pesos. Now they've increased everything. Now we are dying.
The fuel is high too much. First we buy 1 liter 5 cedi. Now a liter is more than 5 cedi, and it's too bad. This thing is trying to weaken us. How many people can drive? How many people can drive? And people are saying that the country want to develop. How can the country develop? It's about the fuel. If the fuel is good, all the things will come down.
Increasing fuel most of the times lets our road be difficult. You see, we know that we're running in town. The customers, they have their own price out. We do run before we get the passengers from them.
On the line now with me is John Jinapo. He's a ranking member on the Energy Committee in Parliament. Mr. Jinapo, have yourself been briefed on why we're seeing these increases and the reimposition of the price stabilization levy? Okay, unfortunately, we may have lost both of them on the line there, but this is something that many of you have been talking about already, as you've just heard there. A few of you already talking to us on the subject of the increases. If you've experienced it already, I want to hear from you on this particular subject. Plus, all the other stories you've heard already, and many of you are joining us already with your thoughts on what you heard from the Chief Justice as it relates to the cases before her and her own strategy now to be more accountable, going directly to you and to explain what a vision is. I want to hear from you on this. Gerard, for example, says the Chief Justice's initiative is commendable, but her inability to address the Speaker's expedited case hearing question, he says, has blurred her first engagement. I wish her well, even beyond this government. That's some well wishes there coming in from Gerard to the Chief Justice as she embarks on this journey, breaking from tradition. I want to return to the subject of increased petroleum products. And Gabriel Kumi, the Vice Chair of the LPG Marketers Association, was about to tell us how this is affecting the customers of the association who are coming to the pumps to buy LPG. And as you know, LPG is supposed to be for the poorest of the poor, because there was a policy at some time to move people away from charcoal and the destruction of the forest to LPG. So tell me, Gabriel, how are customers responding to these increases at the pumps?
Evans, you know LPG is a product with an elastic demand. Any single peso that you put on the price of LPG goes a long way to affect its consumption. Over the past 3 years, the consumption of LPG has been on a very consistent decline. And this is a product government itself has set a target to increase its consumption from then 25% penetration level in 2020 to 50% by the year 2030. But over the past 3 years, since 2021, LPG consumption has seen a drastic decline in consumption. And this is as a result of the fact that the price of the product is gradually being pushed to the level that the ordinary Ghanaian is no longer able to afford. Gradually, LPG is becoming a luxurious product. The ordinary Ghanaian, because currently, from this window, we are going to buy your ordinary cylinder, that's the 14.5 kg. We are going to buy it for about 250 Ghana cedis.
That's expensive. What's the association doing about this? Have you engaged the authorities?
We are officially going to respond to all these developments. We are going to respond to this. We are going to write officially to MPA and to petition everybody in this country that needs to be petitioned to take a second look at this. We have discussed out on government, the genuineness of government's intention to increase consumption of LPG. You can't eat your cake and have it. You can't set such a target and at the same time you act in such a way which is not in consonance.
Hello, Gabriel. Goodness me, I lost him there. But let's stay on this subject a while longer. Apologies for the terrible connection to him at the end there. John Jinapo, who's a ranking member on the Energy Committee, joins me now. And John, I'm curious if you've received any briefing on what really is happening. We all woke up this morning to see the price hikes at the pumps across the country, but we are told it's because of a government policy that may be triggering this. Have you been briefed at all?
Yes, I have seen a memo from the NPA indicating that they would now start setting floor prices. And that's very shocking. That I'm asking myself, when will this government ever get something right in the energy sector? Because when you have sector such as the petroleum sector, what you do is to deregulate. And the main essence of deregulation is to promote competition. But you also regulate it in a way to ensure that people don't engage in profiteering through cartel and cheating the ordinary consumer. So first of all, I hold the view that what the MPA is trying to do falls outside their remit under Act 691 of 2005. They don't even have that authority, in my opinion, to decide that there will be certain floor prices. What it means is that even if your cost of production is low, you cannot pass that benefit to consumers. The essence of setting a ceiling is to ensure that people can sell below the ceiling, but not above the ceiling. Now the MPA is turning it upside down, and they've decided that they are setting floor prices. Floor prices are set to protect people like farmers, the vulnerable, so that they can get a minimum wage for labor, but not in the petroleum sector. I mean, it defeats even the purpose of establishing the MPA. I'm told that some politician somewhere sat and directed that the MPA should do that. I find that very, very unfortunate.
They must certainly have good reasons for this. Have they provided a justification for why this is happening?
They claim that some people are selling at a reduced price. And so what? Why don't you want to promote competition? I mean, rather, use the regulation in terms of the fees and charges they pay, maybe base it on volumetric sales. That one I wouldn't have a problem. To say that maybe because you sell, say, X amount, you pay Y amount. You initially have a floor price, then you escalate it based on volume. So you have a factor that determines that amount. But to say that you are setting a floor price and that all the OMCs should not sell below that floor price, I find it extremely problematic. So what you are essentially saying is that the benefit of a reduced price should not go to consumers. And already, if you check, the consumption of LPG is going down. So the main essence of this cylinder recirculation and LPG promotion is defeated because of the cost element. And now look at this obnoxious policy they are trying to introduce. I find it very, very unfortunate.
What is it that you plan to do about this if you insist that the MPA is overstepping its remit?
Once again, I have to talk to the chairman, and that's how Parliament works. The ranking member, who is like a shadow, cannot summon a meeting. I can only prompt the chairman. But the good news is that our chairman is very, very proactive. He is not partisan. He has the nation's interest at heart. So when I communicate with him, I'm very, very sure that we'll do the needful. Must there always be MPs pushing these entities to do the right thing? Then what's the essence of the governor? What is government doing about this? They owe it a responsibility. And like I told you, it's not easy for Parliament to push these CEOs to do the right thing. It's very, very easy for the executive to direct them because they hire and fire. Be that as it may, we'll take this up and ensure that the right thing is done.
But John, I mean, the setting of the price floor can be the reason why the prices have gone up today. I mean, can it? There certainly must be some other factors at play here.
Certainly. Because when you set a price floor, you are seeking to protect the producer and not the consumer.
Yes.
That's the essence of a price floor.
Whereas that is true, I'm just curious that the increases we've seen today cannot be because of the price floor that has been set.
No, but that would be a contributing factor, because even if the exchange rate determines that, some OMCs who are able to manage their cost can still lower prices a bit. So at least some benefit will be passed on to the consumer. And so what is the rationale for setting the price floor? What's the explanation from the MPA? What is the rationale?
Well, John, thank you very much. And he's a ranking member on the Energy Committee in Parliament. Dr. Patrick Kweku Ofori is the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber for Bulk Oil Distributors, and also joins us right now with his thoughts on this matter. And as you can imagine, when it comes to petroleum products, it affects everybody else because it has a knock-on effect on inflation, prices of food, transportation. Everybody is impacted. Let's understand what is happening. Thank you, Dr. Fore, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you, Evans.
You
for
bring
the opportunity.
You bring in the bulk
to our listeners.
You bring in the bulk product into the market. What's your understanding of why we're seeing the price hikes we've seen on the market today?
Okay, first, I think I need to correct some impression. With the mechanism that is set up to introduce the floor pricing, one that has not yet kicked in. That starts the next window of April, the second window of April, that is from 15th April going. So obviously, the price hike that we've experienced now cannot necessarily be to the floor pricing.
What do you attribute the increases to then?
It's definitely because of international prices and how our currency is behaving.
Do you?
And then
that because you buy the bulk, you're seeing that at play when you take your CDs to buy the dollars to purchase a product.
Certainly. You check just last week or so. You know, members have already priced using the exchange rate within the region of 12.14, 12.45 thereabout. By the time the window even closed, even the BOG auctioning for this month was 13.11. Clearly gives an indication that even if you are going by the central bank exchange rate, the prices cannot still remain the same because there has been a change in one of the key determinants. In addition to the swift change in some of the prices is the price stabilization levy that MPA sought to revise, which within 24 hours, we got a signal that they need to revert that and clearly also give an indication that once you are under a program, basically what IMF program, you've necessarily ceded all your revenue stream, tax components and levies and other things that is coming to the government, to them. So in the middle of the year or end of the first quarter, you cannot just change your tax regime.
So that explains why the price of the
that explains why.
Now back. So obviously that's an additional burden then for the consumer at the pumps.
Certainly.
And tell me, what's your projection? Are you projecting that the increases will continue based on what you know is happening on the market and with our depreciating CD?
Once the CD keeps on depreciating and international prices doesn't come down, it will be difficult for anybody to give prices that are not realistic. And on the issue of even the floor pricing, the regulator will not just sit down and look at the market to continue to behave in a certain way, which clearly is not sustainable.
You back the price floor?
Certainly. You need to be fair to all players within the value chain. Even the template is simple. You look at how you are landing the product. Even the exchange rate alone, even if you are putting a zero margin or even a zero premium in your calculation, some of the prices that were going on in the market clearly gives an indication that people are not being truthful or honest to themselves. It's either they are not going to pay those who have lent them a facility or those who have supplied them the product. And for any responsible regulator and any responsible player within the sector, this has got multiplier effect not only to the downstream petroleum sector, but our entire financial system, and then also the overall supply security for the country.
Well, I mean,
So
from a consumer's point of view, many would disagree with that point. I mean, if the private businessman decides that he won't pay you, for example, when you deliver products to him, and he decides to sell the product. Now he's selling at 14 CDs, I believe, a litre, and he decides to sell it at 5 CDs, and because of that, he can't pay you, you would not supply products to him again. You collapse that business. So why should the regulator step in there?
You know, that is why Bank of Ghana will give you a base rate for which you cannot lend. That is why when those financial institutions crop up and they were giving certain outrageous interest rate, the Bank of Ghana step in. That is the reason why the Bank of Ghana will give you indicative exchange rate. It's because they think that they have certain level of responsibility to all players within the sector. And they would not allow a few people with ill motive to flip products, knowing that they are not thinking about their sustainability and that they are in.
Yeah, but that is a private man's problem. That's a private business problem.
But it's not just the big man's problem, Evans. The moment everything crystallizes, it's got impact on the financial sector. The financial sector that lends to the sector for the trade to go on. Because you think that you have gotten away with certain things, it will come back to all of us, because that bank that will have high loans that are unserviceable would want to put that burden onto the rest of us. If it continues like that, the premiums for those who want to even
you're using a banking example.
It's
not the same. I mean, you're using a banking example. It's not the same as selling
it's
fuel.
The same.
It's not the same as selling fuel to the market woman who sells Kofi Brookman by the roadside, and all that the person needs is to afford the transportation, and because somebody else is deciding to sell their price below a certain floor, she can buy from there. But that business collapses, you buy from somebody else. How does that affect and destabilize the market?
It destabilizes the market because, Evans, you, a trader A, who is conducting the necessary and the genuine business, who is providing certain services, you are competing with somebody with ill motive. That is also unfair.
I see. Thank you very much, Dr. Patrick Kwame Ofori there. Kweku Ofori, rather. He's the CEO of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. I want to hear from you on this very controversial subject that affects your pocket directly. Share your thoughts with me. And many of you have already joined us with your thoughts. And this one says, good evening. The mandate of the MPA might not include setting a price, a floor price. However, any critical analyst of the current market pricing will clearly indicate that there is a huge underpricing. Some BDCs have already gone under, and others have difficulty raising financial instruments to procure products. The MPA, like any other regulator, must ensure sustainability. So rather than question the mandate of the authority, let the public know that any BDC that goes down will go down with the banks. I beg to disagree with John Jinapol. There's a thought there of a listener who is obviously analyzing what he's heard. This is News Night, and a final one on this subject of petroleum products and the prices going up. Unsurprising, gas, petrol, diesel, water, light, things that make life a little bit flexible for us have been increased, but salaries are still the same. If passport is even 2,000, we do and leave the country for the owners. And that's Dove there from DC says, even if you sell a passport for 2,000, the application fee for 2,000, you would rather apply and leave these shores. This is Joy 99.7 FM, and it's also your election headquarters. Election headquarters is always brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA and CIBA together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants and the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty. Now, the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Mahama, says he will not use taxpayers' funds in the construction of the National Cathedral if he wins the elections later this year. Now, construction of the cathedral has stalled. Government had planned to complete the project by March this year. He's been addressing a students' forum at Wisconsin University here in Accra.
For me, the National Cathedral was a covenant somebody made with God, an individual. He said he swore to God that if he became president, he would build a cathedral for him. And so, from my perspective, it is his promise to build a house for God. And I don't know if God asked him for a house, you know. I'm sure that if he really had asked God what God would want him to do with $400 million, I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral. I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral when $400 million could have provided textbooks for all our students in school. I don't think God would have chosen a cathedral when He could have provided hostels in our universities for our students to have a place to stay. I don't think God would have asked you to build Him a cathedral when we could have used that money to dualize the road from here to Cape Coast and prevent accidents. People die every day on that road because it's a single lane road. And so God didn't ask for it. Somebody promised it to God. And so it was a personal promise. And if I have 400 million, God will be angry with me if I use it to build that cathedral. So I'm not going to take taxpayers 400 million or borrow 400 million from any source to build that cathedral. I said that if us as Christians believe that we should have that cathedral, then it's our duty to raise that money from our own pockets or from other Christian organizations that can help us to build that cathedral. But I don't believe that we should use any taxpayers' money or borrow money and add to our public debt to build that cathedral. We're not Christians alone in this country. There are Muslims, there are Buddhists, there are African traditional religionists, and all of them contribute to taxes. And so I don't think that one religion, we as Christians, should take taxpayers' money that is paid by Muslims and Buddhists and African traditional religionists and build a cathedral for ourselves. The Muslims built their national mosque. And as far as I know, not one cedi of government of Ghana taxpayers' money went into the mosque. And so when we come, we'll do consultation with Ghanaians or even with the Christian community, what we want to do with regards to a cathedral. If it's a priority, then we must go look for the money and build it.
And that there is John Mahama. Today, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has also been campaigning, meeting with the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, and they are alarmed about the shortage of pharmacists in the 5 regions of the north. According to the society, the situation is making it difficult for health delivery to be run efficiently in that part of the country. President of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, Dr. Samuel Donko, raised these concerns when a flag bearer of the MPP, Dr. Bawumia, met the society on his bold solutions for the future engagement.
That in the past 3 years, the government has not employed pharmacists into the public sector. And that has not happened because of financial clearance issues. If we are producing pharmacists every year from the various universities, and yet the government is not employing the pharmacists. These at the same time we have, when you go to the various hospitals across the country, go to the northern zone of Ghana, all the northern regions put together, the upper west, upper east, there is a manpower shortage or the shortage of pharmacists in various hospitals and clinics around. And that's why we raise the issue that this is an issue that can be tackled. We need a financial clearance for many more pharmacists to be employed into the public sector.
Well, the Vice President says the demands by the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana align with his policy directions and assures the transformation of the sector if elected.
Once we have made the decision, and it will come in my manifesto, by the way, that we are going to make Ghana a pharmaceutical hub, but you cannot do it without funding. It's the same way that I want to establish a minerals development bank for the miners, because we can be, a major mining hub in Ghana, especially for the small-scale miners, with some support. But we need a financial institution that understands the business of mining to support them with machinery and so on. But so for me, I believe that once we have made the decision, which I've made, that we are going to make Ghana a hub for manufacturing in this sub-region, then you have to support it with the financial resources. And I think the gain from that would be huge for Ghana. And I think we should do it because we have a comparative advantage.
And that is the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, today meeting with the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. And as you know, the election headquarters is always brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity, CIMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA and CIMA, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, and the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental, Wellness and Beauty. Right after business, Abubuloshi traders take action to clean their markets, keeping the surroundings clean even after a rainfall.
Yeah, every month.
I'm going to take you to Abubuloshi in the next episode of the Filth Exhibition. And George Affe is here with the very latest on the world of business.
And Evans, you're talking about prices going up this window. Well, you should be expecting another increase from April 16 because all those base indicators that influence prices are going up. And I'll be telling you more on that one. We also understand transport operators are set to meet government for negotiations on increase in fares. And the IMF signals strong opposition to any form of subsidy on energy and petroleum products. We're hearing from the managing director of the fund, Kristalina Gogiva. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntax Tanks, and Pepsodent Charcoal and Herbal.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough. Water is needed all day, all night. So remember Syntex tank all day, all night. 7 years warranty. Select any color for free. In no the crack, in no the spoil. Call Accra on 0244 335 168. Kumasi 0505 555 666. Syntex tank. A strong, a tough.
Hello,
Auntie Araba. Hey, Bugger, how are you doing today? I want to buy Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, but I don't have enough money. So what are you going to do? Can you give me the big size? You know, as for me, I'll pay the balance later.
Today, no credit. I haven't sold much this morning. If you don't have enough money for the big size, why don't you try the 120-gram pack?
There's a 120-gram pack? Introducing the new Pepsodent Cavity Fighter in 120-gram pack size. More affordable and convenient. Get yours today from any supermarket near you. Every smile matters. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, my name is Mami Akua, an entrepreneur and a mother of two. My work keeps me busy most of the time, and sometimes it takes me away from my family. But the safety and health of my family is very important to me. As a working mother, I cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to matters of health. That is why I signed up for a family health care plan from Equity Health Insurance. My family and I have access to over 700 hospitals, clinics, opticians, dentists, pharmacies, and diagnostic centers across the length and breadth of Ghana. With Equity Health Insurance, I no longer have to worry about medical bills. Anytime a member of my family visits a hospital, Equity Health Insurance has got my family and I covered. What about you? Who has got you covered?
Call Equity Health Insurance on 050-660-7910 and talk to them about your family health needs now. Visit equityhealthinsurance.com for more information. Equity Health Insurance, here for you.
Showtime! Good life time! Paddy, how is your good life?
Hey, before you attack that sumptuous variety of foods with Toto, do yourself a favor.
Wash your hands with soap under running water, your bowl before you eat, and at all other critical moments. That is,
before you cook, after you visit the toilet, change your baby's diaper,
and when you return home from anywhere.
Let's all come aboard Good Life by washing our hands with soap under running water and at all other critical moments to keep the germs away from our family. Good Life, live it well. It's an everyday thing. Good Life from Ghana Health Service and partners with support from USAID.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, you worried about the current increase in prices of petroleum products, but maybe you might to brace yourself for another increase from April 16, 2024. There is more in this report.
Oil marketing companies, as part of their bi-weekly review for this month, started reviewing prices at the pumps from this Wednesday. Now, that did not include the application of 16 peso stabilization levy on fuel and 14 peso stabilization levy on every litre of diesel. Fast forward to today, we have seen another significant increase in price of petroleum products after the oil marketing firms were forced to apply the new price stabilization levy on the product. The oil marketing firms are supposed to review prices again from April 16, 2024, and the projections don't look good. This is because all the indicators that influence the price at the pumps are going up. One can talk about the cedi's performance, the price at which crude oil is selling on the international market, and the cost of transporting the finished petroleum product to Ghana have all gone up. Due to this, the consumer may have to pay for that. In case we have forgotten, the price stabilization levy will also be added. All these developments will push prices up. If prices go up again from the middle of this month, then there wouldn't be any excuse for government not to grant transport operators their request to increase fares in the coming days.
And that is a business desk report. Meanwhile, the transport operators are set to meet government next Wednesday to kickstart negotiations for possible increase in fares. Baasi Moro speaks with the Ghana Private Road Transport Union.
In our leadership has summoned us for a meeting, of which, of course, we are going to, like you build a house, the final touches, then we'll revisit the transport ministry. Members will embrace, the passengers should not blame anybody as such. We should manage, and now if you increase it and you come up with about 10%, and we decide to come out above, if you decide to come up with something, and the public says, no, we are not privy to that, it's going to create another problem. So we'll plead with our membership or the entire professional driving society to exercise patience so that we look at the other side of the coin and come up with something better which will benefit all of us.
Abazimoro speaks for the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. Meanwhile, economist Professor Peter Kote is worried about the impact of all these developments on the economy.
I mean, you know what fuel does. We use fuel for many other things, including powering our manufacturing plants and many others. But you see, currently we are having power outages, and we are told they are temporary. But nevertheless, this is leading to increased use of generators, and you know that is certainly going to affect cost of production. That is certainly going to affect transport fares. It's going to affect many things that we do. So I think we ought to be cautious, in as much as we don't support blanket subsidy, which we are doing, trying to subsidize everybody, and in effect, we tend to subsidize the rich more than the poor. So I have personally not been a favor of subsidies unless we're able to target properly. But I think given the current dispensation, it's certainly going to translate into higher prices and higher cost of transport, and affect food prices and many other areas that depends on fuel.
Economist Professor Peter Kote. Now, the IMF has indicated that it is opposed to any form of subsidy on energy and petroleum products in Ghana. The fund argues that this program has often benefited the rich than the actual target group in the country. The managing director of the fund, Christina Gogiva, echoed these concerns during a recent visit to Ghana in an interaction with some journalists.
Experience shows that energy subsidy often benefit, not often, always benefit the rich more than they benefit the poor. In fact, the data tells us that 20% of the rich people get 6 times more than the poor people from these subsidies. So we are not in favor of creating implicit benefits for rich people or even explicit benefits for rich people. We much prefer that rather than VAT, doing something else, that we identify the poor part of the population and they receive direct support. In some countries, the way this is being handled is to say consumption of electricity up to a minimal threshold is treated one way, and above this threshold is treated different way. In other words, you charge more. Problem is that this creates fertile ground for all kinds of schemes that are trying to get benefits in a non-appropriate manner.
Kristalina Gogiva is the IMF managing director, speaking to some solicitor journalists during her recent visit to Ghana. The Minister of Finance, Mohamed Mina Dam, has outlined a strategy aimed at clearing existing spending arrears and preventing future accumulation of arrears of state entities. The spending arrears clearance and strategy program is part of government initiative to help to deal with the problem. Speaking at a program in Accra for heads of some government agencies, the minister noted that the time has come to act on these issues.
As well, in our country, arrears constitute a sizable portion of public expenditure that requires pressing reforms if we are to check the accumulation of arrears. In the Public Financial Management Act 2016 at 921 and its regulations, as well as the 5-year Public Financial Management Strategy 2022 to 2026, government has rightly prioritized and resolved to address.
Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is the Minister for Finance, and even on PM Express tonight, some detailed analysis and discussion on the new guidelines for pricing of petroleum products. Is it actually in the interest of consumers, or rather is an anti-free market program? will be engaging the National Petroleum Authority. Abbas Tasunti, he's the head of economic regulations at the National Petroleum Authority. Dr. Patrick Ekofori, he's the chief executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, and also Ben Boachi, he is the executive director at ASEP, and Duncan Amwa, representing the consumers. He is the executive director of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. It's at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platforms.
I'm looking forward to hearing from the MPA there on your panel, just explaining the whole policy rationale behind this. Joe, thank you very much. You are still live here on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM. Ms. Bao is here with the latest from the world of sports. What's happening?
Yeah, well, Evans, it's Accra Hearts of Oak. They held their annual general meeting today, and a few things unfolded there. The shareholders of the club approved the appointment of the club's new 9-member board at the meeting held earlier today at the Civil Service Auditorium in Accra. Now, this approval means Vincent Soa Odote and Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo will retain their positions on the new board. Ivy Howard Mills also remains as one of the former directors, with Brima Moro Akambi, a very popular figure at the club, not getting nomination to be on the board. My colleague Kwame Banaya has the rest of the board members.
Professor Ajiman Bedu Akusa, a former flag bearer, hopeful of the Convention People's Party, is joining the new board. Ken Ashigbe, chief executive of the Telecommunications Chamber and former director, is also on the new board. Chief executive officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Akwesi Ajiman, is another new addition to the board. With experience as a board member of the Division 1 League and as a member of the fundraising committee for Ghana's 2022 World Cup campaign, Akwesi Ajiman is well acquainted with the football governance. Samuel Winfred Yawinkum, a chartered accountant and a chartered tax practitioner, has been confirmed on the board as well. These 7 individuals will join the club's majority shareholder, Tugbe Afede XIV, and managing director, Delali Anku Adiama, who were announced as the club's new directors in February.
Well, meanwhile, the board chairman himself, Tugbe Afede, has been speaking about the club's plan to raise some 200 million cedis to finance various projects that the club will be embarking on. Well, he's been explaining how he intends to raise this money. Well, Evans, basically, he said they are going to float some shares later this year in May and June, and will be able to use that to, fund some of their projects and pay off some of their debts. That's it for sports, Evans.
Thank you very much. In Agbogboloshi, traders combine efforts to tidy up the market instead of relying solely on government assistance to deal with the incessant filth problem there. Now, evidently, after a rainy Wednesday morning, you remember how heavy the downpour was overnight. The market area was clean, yet choke gutters remain a concern. Sweetie Abochi brings you today's episode of Filth Exhibition from Agbogboloshi, highlighting the traders' proactive efforts and the work that remain.
This is Agbogboloshi. Agbogboloshi is a nickname of a commercial district on the Koli Lagoon of the Odao River. It's also one of the biggest market centers here in Accra. It's just about 5 hours after a heavy rainfall, and we came to the market to assess the sanitation situation in Agbogboloshi. For a second there, we thought that the impact of our Joy News series, Filth Exhibition, perhaps had to cost our leaders to clean up the city a little bit. So we went out to ask the market women what really accounts for the cleanliness we see.
Today, because of the rain, that's why. And Wednesday, no market. But tomorrow, Thursday, we have Agbogboloshi market here. Okay. The cabbage peoples and all the peoples will come on this area. But today, no market.
Regardless of how it looks on the surface, a second look at the gutters where the market women sit on the roads reveal that the gutters are choked and there's still more work to be done.
Yeah, every month, because there's a gutter I have to maintenance say do get them.
President Akufo-Addo's promise to turn Accra into the cleanest city is fast becoming a failed promise. But how do we move forward from the sanitation crisis? Maybe you have the answers.
Let's explore the answers together on the filth exhibition wherever you are. Take a video of the filth you have in your area and share with us on our WhatsApp platforms and across our social media pages also. 055-1111-997 at the WhatsApp line. You're still on your election quarters, by the way. And as you know, your election headquarters is always brought to you by Petrosol Clean Fuel in full quantity, SEMA, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA, and SEMA together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants and the German Ozone Medical Center. Alternative therapy, dental wellness, and beauty. And tonight, the National Democratic Congress has written to the Electoral Commission demanding an emergency IPAC meeting over missing equipment. I want to bring in right now the Deputy General Secretary of the party who joins us on the telephone line right now. Why has it become necessary to demand this emergency IPAC meeting, Mustafa Bandi?
Thank you very much. If there seems to be some noise at the background.
I can hear you loud and clear now.
Right. So basically, we believe that the election and the work of the Electoral Commission is by law, with a minimal application of discretion. And for an important matter such as issues concerning inventory and stock of DVD machines or BVR machines, there's a need for us to meet as stakeholders and discuss. Because where 5 machines of the commission and more are missing and are in the hands of wrong people, it has everything to do with the credibility, transparency, the freeness, and the fairness of both registration and election to be conducted by the Electoral Commission using similar machines.
The Electoral Commission issued a statement on this, a very detailed statement. They addressed a press conference. Isn't that enough?
No, you can't address issues that borders on accounting and inventory with press statements. It is not done. It's procedurally not done. It is upfront to issues of inventory to be responding to same with press conferences and press statements. The auditor or an inventory keeper will have to conduct reconciliation so that we audit the machines and ensure that we know correctly the serial numbers of missing machines, missing items, then we can document same before we progress.
Have you heard from the EC yet since you wrote to them on this?
Come again, Evans.
Have you heard from the EC yet since you wrote to them demanding?
We are waiting to hear from the EC. We believe that it is in the interest of EC's own credibility and its work to allow for an emergency IPAC meeting to discuss this matter, because if this matter is not resolved, I don't think that we can progress on EC's own calendar. I don't think that the whole election process is necessary, because we would have been going into a flawed process, a process that will not be credible, a process that will not be transparent, a process that will not lead to any successful registration or election.
Thank you there, Mustafa Bandi. We're checking with the Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission tells us that they plan to hold a meeting on these particular issues sometime next week. And that's when that happens, you can trust that your election headquarters will bring the developments as the EC agree with the parties to you here on your election headquarters, which is always brought to you by Petrosol, Clean Fuel in full quantity, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, AICPA, SEMA, together as Association of International Certified Professional Accountants, and the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Dental Wellness, and Beauty. And I will end by talking about stress that ministers go through. Being a minister of state can be rewarding, exciting, and powerful. But have you wondered about the stress they go through when they announce what could be described as an unpopular decision? The Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Kweku Amprichum Sapon, reveals to Joy News the pressure he came under when the ministry announced a 400% increase in passport application fees.
Today, Elton, let me be fair. Yesterday was a heavy day for me. In fact, for about a period of about 6 hours.
You were just explaining.
I was sitting at one place. with explanation, with phone calls from left, right, and center, even from my own party members and my party leadership. It wasn't easy. My minister was also being bombarded left, right, and center. We were there. What have we done wrong? Abba, Ghana.
Pressure. And that's it for News Night tonight. And you want to stay here on Joy 99.7 FM right after I'm done, because we have a very exciting conversation coming up on personality profile. Guess who is joining Lexus Bill for dinner tonight? Dr. Edmond Dilly.